Hello and welcome to a hardware review. Today with a gamepad, the G4E or the G4 Advanced Edition as it's sometimes called. This is a gamepad made by a company called GameSir from Hong Kong, which was gracious enough to give us 2 units to review and play around with for, well, ever, because they're letting us keep these, which is very nice of them. This is a gamepad that will let you play games on your PC, on your smartphone, on your tablet, and it has a few extra features as well that make it really nice to use. This is not compatible with iOS. There will be a separate version called the GameSir M2, which is coming in 2017 that will be compatible with all sorts of Apple products. Now, that being said, let's start with the unboxing and then we'll get through each of its elements and see exactly how good it is. I'm joined today by Geralt of Rivia and Tris Marigold in this review. There used to be a dragon as well, but he's currently hibernating somewhere and I don't know where I put him. So, I'm gonna do something funny for this review. In the corner, I'm gonna put my colleague's attempt, Raul, at unboxing this unit. So, let's see how far he got along by the time I finish this. So, it's a very nice package that very well displays the gamepad front and center, and it's secured by this tape that actually gave Raul a lot of trouble. It took him about 3 minutes to actually figure out that there was tape around here, so it was quite funny to actually watch him try to unbox this. Thankfully, he didn't record it for himself. He probably wouldn't have put it online, so I did it and did it for him. Let's open this right up. I'm gonna pretend that came off in one go. It's a very nice plastic, transparent plastic, and inside we have the gamepad itself. As you can see, it's a very nice one. I'm gonna take out the plastic first because it's a bit hard to take out of it. Let's see what else we have in here. We have the ever-essential charging cable, which you will need to, well, charge it and connect it to your PC. It's a very useful thing to have if you don't want the battery life. If I'm not mistaken, actually I can see it written around here somewhere. I believe it was around here somewhere, but we'll get to that later. We have the manual, which will give you some important details about how to connect it properly to your device, what exactly you need to do to, well, keep it safe and not explode or something. Not that it explodes, but you know. It is powered by a very small lithium-ion battery, so it shouldn't have any problem with it doing a Note 7 or something. And let's try to pop this out of its shell. As you can see, there are indications right here to just squeeze. And let's see if we can pop it out without breaking it. Come on, I can do it, come on. And yes, we have managed to actually pop it out. Oh boy. As you can see, it's a very nice looking gamepad. I can say that for certain. It does feel a bit small for my hands, but then again I do have kind of massive hands, so I've been told. At first inspection, it is a very smooth gamepad. The rubber inserts around the edges are very grippy. I've had in the past a Logitech F510 gamepad, which had similar insertions of rubber, but they weren't as textured, and your hands did not slip. But still, this one feels like your hands will never slip. And the other side is a very nice plastic that's very smooth to the touch. I'm actually glad that this is plastic and not rubber, because my F510 Logitech gamepad is currently in a very sad state of affair. You will see it later in the show. So besides this, you also have this thing, as you can see here. This will allow you to mount a telephone right here, which will enable you to play with a smartphone. And I'm gonna get to that one soon. But before that, we also have one extra little trick, which is this little tiny drawer down here, which I can open it with some effort if I'm careful. And voila, This is your USB Bluetooth adapter, which you will need in order to connect your device to your PC. With that being said, let's take this out because we're gonna put this one in the PC, and let's just power this on. So start. As you can see, the device lights up. It has LEDs and everything. The buttons have LEDs in them. I can actually close this now. You can see the indicator for the battery life. There's currently 3 out of 4 lights left, so the battery is relatively full. It's a very nice design, I gotta say. Especially love these buttons. My old gamepad had very short buttons here, so it wasn't really that precise, but this one actually has very large shoulder buttons that you will easily be able to press. Well, with the unboxing done, let's switch over to the full review. With that settled, what exactly does this gamepad have to offer that others don't? Well, let's take it step by step. Firstly, the shape. You may recognize it as being more or less the standard shape that most gamepads have, especially the ones that try to emulate the Xbox 360 controller, especially because it has the exact same layout with the thumbstick placed above the D-pad. The gamepad is built using plastics that are kind of okay to the touch, and it also has these rubber inserts that let you just grip it a tiny bit better than you would if it was normal plastic. Now the backside of it is also plastic, which I'm kind of happy about. There are some gamepads like the Logitech F510 that do not have a plastic piece on the back. Instead they have a rubber one, which for some time gives you a better experience. It's a lot more smoother than simple plastic, but there is a downside to it, because you see, my former gamepad was a Logitech F510 and currently the backside of it looks like it went through a civil war and lost. Yeah, it's gunky, it's full of icky things that just collected out of thin air, dust and so forth. So while this material was better at first, currently it's a biohazard, if I can say so myself. I'm gonna be keeping this around for comparison with the current GameSir G4 gamepad. The one thing I can say about it that's really not to my liking so far, in terms of the exact way it's built, is, well, look at it. Compared to my hands, it's a bit too small. This is probably the smallest gamepad I've ever owned. Apart from the Logitech one, the only other PC gamepad I've ever owned was a Thrustmaster Firestorm Dual Analog 3, which you can see right now. This is a much larger device, and it has, in my opinion, simply the exact best shape possible for my hands. It is the best in terms of ergonomics and design and well, not functionality, but in terms of shape, it is the best gamepad ever made. Sadly, it's a bit outdated, doesn't even have triggers, it's a very old and currently not very good gamepad. But it is big enough to fit me exactly like a glove. The G4, however, is kind of small. It makes me feel like I'm playing hunched up against it, you know, so I can just grip it better. It's gonna take some adjusting to actually use it properly. It won't impact my performance using it, but I wouldn't say it feels uncomfortable either. It's just that it doesn't feel as good as the Thrustmaster or even the Logitech one. But I do have something positive to say about its shape. These buttons. The Logitech one, which I'm gonna bring back up, as you can see, has very narrow shoulder buttons. You're gonna have problems pressing these, especially this one, because it tends to slip. On first inspection, I believe that this gamepad will not have any issues of that sort, and to a point it doesn't. The buttons are quite large and are easy to click, unless you have big hands. You know, so if you're like me and you want to play with your hands like this, you're gonna have some problems, because if you press on them here, they're not gonna click, because these buttons will not press down. They will actually pivot. The buttons will pivot on this axis right here, on this point, and if you're just gonna press up here, there won't be any connection. You will just be pressing on the balancing point and you won't do anything. You have to press either here and drag them to the outside, or just press here. That's probably my only gripe with that and the fact that it's small. I mean, look at these. Look at these thumbsticks. They're tiny. If they didn't have a concave shape that actually gives you more grip, they would be really hard to use. But the shape of them, the concave shape, compensates for that. So, gotta say it's a trade-off. It's not really a trade-off. It's a balancing act that actually works for this device. Now, if it weren't so small, yeah, it would probably be the best one I've ever owned. But the size makes it a bit... Like I said, it's not hard to use, but it does take some adjusting to that so far hasn't happened for me. The other buttons, I really don't have anything bad to say about them. The D-pad is a very nice standard Xbox 360 model, the same one that my Logitech device has. It's okay for most games. I would not recommend it for fighting games because unless you have a gamepad that has individual buttons for each direction of the D-pad, like the DualShock does for PlayStation or some of the Razer ones do, these are not very good D-pads for fighting games. I would however recommend you get a fight stick or just a keyboard. You'd be surprised how good a keyboard can be for fighting games. The face buttons are standard affair. There's not really much you can say about them, except that these ones light up, and I'll get to that in a moment. And you also have the triggers, which are a step up from my Logitech one because they're a bit longer. And they're very easy to press down. They don't really seem to have that much resistance to them, which makes it kind of okay because you don't want your fingers to get tired. Now, the G4 does have a few special features that none of my other gamepads do. For example, it can be used with a phone. Using this nifty attacher, well, you don't even have to use this attachment system, but this is useful if you want to have your phone right in front of you. If you want to use a tablet, you can just close this and connect it through Bluetooth with your tablet. It's a very simple process. You have to just press this, wait until it goes green and flashes, and while it's flashing, connect it to your Bluetooth adapter from your phone or your tablet. Same goes for PC. Well, PC it's even simpler. Just press this and it will connect instantly if you have the dongle attached to your PC. Gaming performance so far has been quite good on Android. I haven't seen any problems with it. Sometimes my device would disconnect because it was low on batteries, the device, not the gamepad. But other than that, it's quite a smooth experience. It actually makes mobile games a lot more playable, especially the ones that were either ported from PC or, dare I say it, emulated. By the way, the software that comes with this thing lets you download an emulator from the developer that will allow you to play some games from different platforms, and it's actually quite okay to play them with this. It doesn't have any other drawbacks that the touchscreen would have, so this makes gaming on mobile very smooth and very pleasant. Apart from that, it also has a few extra features, like LEDs in the home button and in the face buttons. These are going to be useful to you, especially if you're playing at night. It will let you see the gamepad better, and you can actually dim the lights and turn them off entirely. You also have a turbo function that lets you assign one of these buttons, either these or triggers or shoulder buttons, to be a sort of macro of itself. So you press the turbo button and one of these, and every time you press this button, instead of being a one long press, it will keep pressing itself about a couple of times a second. This is a feature that the developer said will let you just press the button continuously without your finger getting tired, because there's some games that you have to mash buttons, and so this one would it would be an okay feature, I guess. Frankly, I don't really see the point of it. I haven't really used it that much. It's not something that I've ever needed to use. You also have vibrations in it, and you can change all these settings, the lights and the vibrations, by using a bit of a complicated method. For example, to change the lights, you have to press the right trigger, the right thumbstick, the left trigger, and up and down until you dim the lights completely. You can also change vibrations by pressing turbo and up or down, and that will change the vibrations. This doesn't seem to be working. Well, it does work, but I can't really remember exactly how long you have to press turbo for before pressing up and down. Frankly, instead of turbo and the clear button that clears the turbo command, I would have preferred if they put here the options to increase or decrease vibration, increase, decrease the lights, or move the, swap the thumbstick and the D-pad. To swap the thumbstick and the D-pad, I actually forgot what the combination was. You'll have to, very important, keep the manual around. There are a lot of options in this thing, like a lot of them. For example, this gamepad has multiple functions, like switching from direct input to X input. In my old gamepad, this was achieved by a switch on the back that lets you switch from X input to direct input. There's no such physical switch on the GameSir G4. Instead, you have to press Home and X for X input and Home and A for direct input. And that's not the only thing you can do. It can do a lot more things, and I'm quite happy about it. For example, when you are in direct input, it's very important for you to be in direct input. You can use this gamepad as a remote control. Well, you can use it as a mouse, a remote mouse. You just press select and X, and voila! This LED switches to white, and now you can control your mouse with the left joystick. You have zoom on the right one, and you have click and right click on the face buttons. This is a very useful function. You can actually use it to play some PC games like Civilization, or just stay in bed and surf the web using this, or switch videos while you're just binging something on Netflix or something. Your choice! Also, you have another setting that lets you activate the Android only mode. Now, this does not emulate the mouse in Android, it's just for games, I believe. And also, this is why you should keep the manual handy, there's this mode, which I have no idea what it is. Like, really, I have no idea what the Home plus Y does and why the LED is red. In Windows, this turns the gamepad in something unusable, but it does have about 20 buttons listed in the settings options. None of them work, and it's actually not listed in the manual. So I don't know what this does. It would have been a lot better if all these settings to switch from direct input to mouse to X input would have been on separate buttons. That would have made things a lot more clear, because honestly, I have no idea what this does. Maybe it's a debug function or something, probably. One issue I've had with switching between all these mods is that my PC sometimes tends to launch the default web browser when switching to direct input, or sometimes it will tell me that I've changed audio sources for no reason. In terms of performance, this is about as, well, standard, I would say, as gamepads go, like high-end gamepads. In the direct input mode, you have a sensitivity of about 256 units, which is kind of the standard for direct input devices. Again, direct input is an older standard. It's not been embraced as well after X input came out, which is kind of sad, because direct input will let you use a lot more access than X input does. And while it's in X input mode, it does have the full 65K and over 65K units of sensitivity in both thumbsticks and in these things. It's as high end in terms of performance as a gamepad can get. I have noticed no problem with lag, no problem with delay, well, nothing that my old Logitech didn't have as well. But again, this does have something in its favor, namely the fact that it does have a bigger shape, a bigger size, and it's something that I've grown accustomed to compared to this. Most of the time I've used this in wireless mode, because there's just no advantage to having it being wired other than it charging constantly from the USB. It behaves perfectly in wireless mode. I've noticed no lag, no delays, no stutter, no disconnections entirely. It's been a dream using it. I'm very happy with it so far. It's even something that you can use from, well, the box says you can use it from about 8 meters away. I don't have a big enough apartment to test that. I have tested it, however, at about 3 meters away through a wall. So 3 meters away through a wall is something that you'll probably never use it for because, you have to be in the same room with your PC to actually see what you're doing, but it will work. At about 4 meters and the wall, it stopped working, it disconnected, but I don't see that as being an issue. The battery life, it's stated about 18 hours after 2 or 3 hours of charging, and it's consistent to what I've noticed so far. I haven't gotten into a situation where it's been completely drained because from time to time I do plug it in to see exactly how it behaved in terms of performance in wired versus wireless mode. All in all, the GameSir G4E or the G4 Advanced Edition is a very good gamepad, which I recommend to everyone that wants to spend about $70 on a brand new state-of-the-art and very, very useful tool. This will work again with just about everything you have. Everything. Most wireless gamepads do not work with Android. This one does. This one will work with, again, apart from iOS, it will work with anything. It will even work with Windows XP provided that you download the correct, well, not driver, there's a utility for it made by Microsoft that will let you use an X-Input gamepad on Windows XP. When it comes to standard gamepads, this is probably the most feature-complete one you can find right now on the market. Beyond this, you have more specialized devices that use haptic feedback like the Steam controller or ones that have trackpads. But when it comes to the standard old design for a gamepad, this is about as good as it gets. And again, you can use it as a mouse. I'm very confident that I'll be using this as my default gamepad from now on, not only because this thing is, well, 5 or 6 years old right now and it's probably a biological hazard, but also because, again, I can use this as a mouse if I'm in bed and just want to watch something on my computer. I can play Civilization in bed. Granted, pressing enter to end the turn is a bit annoying because you have to move the mouse all the way into the bottom of the screen, but still, it's a very good gamepad, which I recommend to everyone that needs or wants something that can do just about everything. There are, however, again, a few gripes I have with it, namely, if they're ever gonna make a second version of this, like a G5 or a G4S Plus or something, I recommend they make it about 10 to 15% bigger, so it'll fit my hands better, and they should probably try and make the shoulder buttons easily pressable from just about every angle, not just from the outside, but also from the tip, the very tip. This would probably make it the perfect gamepad. Currently, it's just the best one I've ever owned. So again, if you want a gamepad, I really recommend this. It's a good gamepad, the GameSir G4 Advanced Edition. You can find it now on the manufacturer's website for the price of around $70. Well, that would be it for this hardware review. I'll be back soon, tinkering with some new nifty gadgets. Goodbye! Thank you for watching this show. If you enjoyed it, please consider watching some of our other videos and maybe sharing them or giving a thumbs up if you feel like it. And if you really liked what you saw, please check out our Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you could help us make much better shows and get some rewards in the process. Or you could consider buying my book called Tale of Doom. Volume 1 is out now and available for just $2. And as always, if you thought it was horrible, you know where to find me and complain about it.